This is what was going on in my life while making my painting, Love Survive. In October of 2023, I agreed to write a book called The Art of Portraiture. At the time that the publisher approached me, my wife and I had just moved into the first house that we'd ever purchased. We were both engaged in our businesses and being artists, spending time with our little dog in the countryside. It all was really, really perfect. And it had always been on my mind to write a book, so I thought, well, what better time to do it? Now, in my lifetime, I've never ever chosen to do something the easy way. I decided I was going to do everything from scratch. I was going to make every single illustration for the book new. I was going to process all of those images, that on top of writing what became ultimately 7 drafts of the book to get to the clearest, most concise version of what I wanted to say. Now, I should tell you that I'm also a very obsessive worker. When I get into a project, I grind and I grind and I grind. So eventually, maybe about 2.5 months into writing the book, it's the middle of December, and here in Norway, we are barreling towards the absolute darkest day of the year. As I experienced it, writing a book requires a different kind of focus. As an artist, I bounce around between different projects. I work on a painting one day, I let it sit for weeks before coming back to it with fresh ideas. A book, on the other hand, and add to that, a book that you're going to write within 6 months, requires a non-stop focus and grind. You do not have time to shift to other projects, to spend time doing other things, maybe even to have a life. One night at about 10 o'clock, I had wandered into my studio with my cup of coffee and sat down in front of my Wacom tablet to process images. Processing images means taking really, really large TIFF files and then going through with Photoshop's healing tool and removing little eraser grit and bits of lint or hair that had gotten stuck to the surface and then scanned by this really high-powered photo scanner. And I was doing this for hours at a time. For whatever reason, that night was different. As I was processing this image, I started to feel waves of discomfort. I don't know, it was just a general feeling that something's not right. At that point, I just ignored it. I didn't really think anything was happening. I felt uncomfortable before. I felt tired, exhausted, overworked. This is not a problem. I just worked through it. This night was different. At one point, I just started shaking uncontrollably and crying and feeling like the world was kind of closing in on me. I'd never before in my life had anything close to a real panic attack. And so at this moment, I have no idea what's going on. I just know that it feels like the world is ending and I need to run away as fast as possible. That night was the first instance of what became a year-long recovery from what's referred to as generalized anxiety disorder. Now, while this is all going on, it occurs to me that I've taken the running of the business side of my career as far as I really want to go. And that what I'm yearning for now is to return to that initial spark, that thing that was there when I started wanting to be an artist in the first place. I realized that I wanted to recommit to that part of my life. Now, that doesn't mean I'll stop teaching. I love connecting with students all over the world. But it meant that I wanted to stop with some of these crazy side quests, like writing a book, like making an app. I want to get back to the version of myself that made art for no reason at all, that made it because I was passionate about bringing things into the world that people could relate to. And so I decided that in the following year, at that time it was 2024, I'd recommit to that. I'd try to create a real balance in between running a business that is an online school and being an author and being an app developer and just making cool shit. That's what I really want to be doing. So during that winter, I started developing sketches. Ideas started occurring to me. And I made a small color study of what would eventually be the painting that we're here to talk about. Now, it's not that I planned for it to be this at the time, but this painting was my way of processing what I was going through, this crisis in my life. In fact, I think it's really fair to say that I'd never made anything like this before. I'd never made anything with this motivation before. I always wanted to make cool stuff, but this painting was really a part of me. Like it came from some crazy deep well inside of me that maybe I wasn't even totally conscious of. It's not an idea that I concocted to tell a story. It's a story that kind of poured out of me at the time. So I started work on this large canvas. And honestly, I didn't have any kind of clear methodology. I didn't know how I wanted to do it. I honestly didn't even know if the sketch that I had made really looked like a painting. I'd never seen a painting that did the stuff that it did before. Now, I'm not here saying I'm like some genius that invented a new world in painting. It's just It was nothing like I had done. It's nothing like what I had experienced before or the paintings that I had planned to make. So at first, the technique was really crazy. I tried some of this, some of that. I was scraping, I was using a palette knife, I was using tiny brushes, I was using giant brushes. Anything I could do to kind of flesh out a little bit of the feeling that I had inside onto the surface of that canvas. At the center of it all, I knew that I wanted to create this contrast, this red burning center and this icy cold exterior. But suffice to say, this was really illustrating something that I felt about myself, that I had built this version of me to kind of confront and cope with life in the world that was like an icy shell around a molten core. And I wanted to let that heat out. Like I said, I didn't know it at the time, but looking back on it, that's exactly what I was trying to evoke. Now, I want to be crystal clear about this. This painting didn't help me get out of a depression. It didn't help me get out of an anxiety disorder. It's just what I did during the time I was going through that. And if you're out there and you are suffering from anxiety, you understand. A lot of times it's not about fixing yourself. It's just about finding something to do to be busy while you process and deal with and cope with and heal from what's actually ailing you. Now, by the time the spring started to roll around in Norway, I had just about gotten myself back to zero. Meaning I could get through the day, I could sleep at night. I wasn't counting the hours of every day, trying to creatively think up ways that I could cope with my existence. And along with it, the painting was eventually coming closer to being resolved. At this point, it just became a technical challenge of how to fill it with things that I thought were actually beautiful, to make a painting that was covered from top to bottom and end to end in things that I thought were really cool and really beautiful. I mean, as I hear myself talk about it, I think that those were the moments I was starting to get back to or feel connected again to the work in my life. The actual thing that I learned from all this was that I really just wanted to honor the relationships in my life and the people that I care about, and that what I want my art to do is to connect me more to them and to build more connections with people I haven't even met yet. For me, my artwork has become a way that I interface with the world. It's the way that I send my joy, my passion, my excitement out into the universe. And I hope that a little bit of it, through other people's passions, comes back. By the time I was finishing this painting, it was well into spring, and I got an email from an old friend of mine, Jordi Alma, who is the curator at the Museum of Contemporary Realism in Barcelona. He told me that he was curating an exhibition there, and it was going to be a survey of contemporary realism in 2024, and that he would like for me to submit something to the show. The idea of getting this painting ready and finished for this exhibition, and then sending it away to Barcelona to be displayed with all these other great artists, it made me feel like incredibly fortunate to have that chance to emerge outward from the dark cave I had been metaphorically living in into the light of beautiful sunny Barcelona, and to take this work and do with it exactly what I wanted. I just wanted the world to see it and to have the chance to connect to it. Now, I'm a realist. I understand that nobody's going to see this painting and view it in the terms that I do. For me, it's incredibly personal. Every memory that I have of that year is somewhere inside of that painting. It's like some kind of bizarre time capsule of that experience for me. So when I say that I want other people to see it and experience it, my only hope is that they'll be able to feel some of the emotional resonance that I felt when making it. And I think that's probably the great challenge of being an artist in general, is knowing that what you pour into something that you make is not translated to other people verbatim as you made it. But I do believe that it leaves a kind of emotional signature, that there's a kind of radiation of the feeling that you had in conceiving it and in making it. Nowadays, I joke around with my friends that I don't think anybody will actually like this painting. In fact, if you know me and you know my work, it's so atypical to what I do that I don't think many people will have even a frame of reference to appreciate it. I started this painting because I needed a way to reconnect to my own work, to reconnect to my life, to make something that felt meaningful. And of course, I don't know if anybody will see it, appreciate it, or care about it, or even think about it once it's past their feed on Instagram. But I know that it's the bridge that I use to get out of a really dark place and to kind of come out into the sunshine and feel like myself again. Now, coming to the end of this video, I don't want to give you some kind of guarantee that by trying to be creative, you will somehow exorcise the demons in your life. I wish it were that straightforward, but I don't think it is. I just wanted to tell you a story that was very significant to me in my life, in the hopes that some part of it will resonate or connect with you. And maybe if you're in your studio making something deeply personal to you, that knowledge that you're not alone at all will help you be a little bit more brave.